The new Fortnite update is here, and it's absolutely insane. And the last few days were just as crazy, cause we got the next season leaked too. So get ready, this summer is cooking. So to kick things off, we're exactly 35 days out from this season ending. There are 2 more leaked updates coming on this week and July 30th, and after that, we hit August 19th, which is when Season 4 begins. This weekend coming up, we could actually get the finale event, but that won't be the only thing we've got left, because Epic already confirmed that this week we're getting the Summer Batman event. We already caught a glimpse of this a couple weeks back, with an image that basically showed us it's gonna be loaded with cosmetics. And since it's confirmed to add Batman sprite, they'll probably throw in weapons or locations tied to Batman too. Batman could actually play the detective role and help us figure out who attacked Jones, which honestly is the biggest thing going on in Fortnite right now. And you've gotta understand, whatever happens with Jonesy right now could flip the whole game on its head and drop us straight into an event where we go up against Geno or something along those lines. For anyone who's not caught up on the lore, we all watched during the finale event how the Voyager was about to attack Jones and the Visitor. But plot twist, whoever's inside that helmet turns out to be Geno, and he shoots poor Jones, who's now stuck in a coma. We know as well that Foundation ended up frozen at the hands of the Ice King. But something else happened that he definitely remembers, and that's when he used the weapon the Visitor built, which weakens him. So if we manage to find him in what's left of the season, he could go after Visitor, or at the very least, get super suspicious of him. And honestly, digging into Rock's disappearance could be a case Batman gets to crack during some possible quests for this summer event that's kicking off right now. And if all that wasn't enough, Geno's got one more problem on his plate, and that's the 0 point itself. Because at the end of the last event, we heard this. That message makes it pretty clear we're supposed to go looking for a character who's essential to the story. But for now, we don't know if it's the 0 point itself, or if it's the Rift butterflies, which would be represent. So the bottom line is there are a ton of ways to unmask Geno, and the Visitor's helmet isn't gonna keep him hidden much longer. But we probably won't find out who he really is until the end of Season 4. Right now the story's leaning hard into the sprites and the collider that's being built on the island as we speak by Dr. Sloan. Sadly, I already explained in a video earlier this week that the sprites are gonna vanish because of exactly this, since the most likely scenario is we're gonna use them as fuel for the machine. And that's precisely what's gonna kick off the next season. So I'm dead sure we're getting a finale event this Season 3. Actually, I'd bet money on how it's gonna play out because I think we're gonna fire up the collider, which is gonna try to control the 0 point. But logically, it's gonna spiral out of control somehow and open up a bunch of portals that lead into the video game Collabs. And that's how I'd explain us getting all the content that leaked in the last few hours next season. Because like I've said a bunch of times, we're getting a video game Legends theme. This isn't exactly new territory for us, since we've had hundreds of skins in this style already. But for the first time in the game's history, there's gonna be a whole season headlined by them. The same thing happened with Marvel years ago, and the big deal here is that the entire Battle Pass should be tied into this. Plus, they'd be the main characters of the story, and both locations and weapons should be rolling in from these collabs too. And as part of this Battle Pass, the first name that popped up is Sonic. The leak actually comes with what his minifigure is gonna look like, and even mentions he'll have an instrument, a guitar that's obviously gonna be in the Battle Pass. Another collab I've known about for a while, but that got brought back up yesterday when all these leaks dropped is Crash Bandicoot, who's not just gonna show up as a character, but is also gonna have cosmetics for vehicles. I'm not sure if that'll make it into the past too, but honestly that'd be sweet. And those are the collabs we've got fresh news on. As for the ones that are brand new, only one's been talked about, and that's the Marvel Tokon game. In theory, we're only getting the Danger skin, but I want to believe it's gonna come packaged with some more recognizable Marvel character, done in a style inspired by this new fighting game. That said, the leaker points out that Danger's design won't come from the game, which reminds me of a similar situation not long ago with Magic from Marvel Rivals. Anyway, the leaks didn't just show up with characters, they came with dates too. As you can see in the screenshot, these would be the updates for the gaming season, with a total of 4 and the 30 and 40 patches being the most important since those are going to be the Halloween event. And finally, the season wraps up on October 29th, the day the mini-season begins, which at this point is a total mystery as far as what it's going to be about. As for the rest of the collabs, let's start with almost confirmed ones. We'll probably head into this season off the back of a finale event. I've got no clue what it'll look like, but my gut says it's gonna have something to do with the 0 point, which is basically off the rails right now. So the new island fusing different game worlds together will most likely show up the same way this current season did. And that event won't even be the last one, because the one that actually closes out the chapter is gonna be one of those mega events, which are hands down the best ones in Fortnite. This time, it'll land somewhere between November 28th and December 5th. And with the whole video game season sitting in between, we could be looking at a total before and after moment for Fortnite heading into Chapter 8. If they don't just straight up call it Fortnite 2 or something. I'm not gonna dig into that theory right now, because we're jumping straight into the list of possibilities for this season's historic roster. And luckily, we've already got a ton of collabs leaked. Keep in mind, some of these came from an Epic employee who's actually facing charges right now for leaking all this. We'll start with the safest bet, which is Kingdom Hearts. And not just because it's Disney property, since we already know how tight Fortnite and Disney are. But the real kicker is that there are already items sitting in the game right now, specifically tied to Rocket League. But like, you know, that's basically Fortnite 2, so yeah, Kingdom Hearts is probably coming this season if it doesn't drop even sooner. As for what it brings, if it's one of those collabs that shows up in the pass, we could get Destiny Islands as a location, and for a weapon, obviously Sora's Keyblade. Next up is Mega Man, one of the most recent leaks. The big question here is which design they're gonna go with. What I'm way more confident about is the item it could bring, since his arm cannon has to be in this season, no question. And for a location, I think the most iconic pick would be Dr. Wily's castle. Then we've got one of the biggest, if not the biggest, which is Minecraft. Obviously the skin would be Steve, and what it brings to the island is clearly that blocky cube look. Honestly, I wouldn't even rule out the whole island rocking that style, like the trees, the water, all of it, with the other collab zones getting their own designs. After that, we've got Crash Bandicoot. The skin's a no-brainer, and what it could add to the gameplay would be his classic crates. As for a zone, I really have no idea what it'd bring. Then another big one would be Persona, and honestly I'm not sure which character we'd get. I'm guessing Joker based on popularity, but they've got a pretty deep bench to pull from. As for an iconic island location, I've got no clue what they'd add, and same goes for weapons. Then there's another collab, which is Beyblade. Here we're back to a massive pool of characters and possibilities. For locations, I'm picturing a Beyblade stadium, and obviously the weapon would be the spinning top with the launcher, which I think would be a genuinely great idea since Fortnite could do a lot with that concept. Moving on to the next one, we're talking Yakuza. And if I'm not mistaken, I've been talking about this one for 2 years because it's been leaked forever. The first thing that comes to mind is the game's locations with that Japanese vibe. And for skins, I'm guessing they'd go with Kiryu, Majima, or Ichiban. There's also been talk of a second wave of Metal Gear, and here the loot situation is easy. Because just like in Chapter 5, they dropped the cardboard box, and luckily the actual weapons are the same ones Fortnite already has. The classic pistols and the suppressed ones are usually always in the game, and this season would have them if this collab gets confirmed. Actually, the next collab that also makes sense to have that weapon would be James Bond. This one's like Yakuza, where we've been talking about it hitting Fortnite for months and months. And honestly, it catches nobody off guard, since Rocket League already has a bunch of Bond vehicles that would obviously come to Fortnite the same day the skin gets confirmed. As for the character, I'm not totally sure which one they'd go with, but since we got a new game this year, they could adapt that version. And the last collab that's leaked but not confirmed, which brings us to the next batch, would be Silent Hill. The location's a lock, since it'd be Silent Hill itself. As for the character, it's pretty tough to guess because there are several games, each with a different protagonist. Now we've got to remember the 4 collabs confirmed with the Epic Games Store, though I'd say all of these drop before October. But if not, we've got the Sonic collab, specifically his racing game, though what we're all hoping lands in Fortnite is the skin. And if that character does show up for the next season, I'm pretty confident the item it'd add would be something that gives you speed to rotate around the island. The one I'm not so sure would get talked about is Godzilla, since they've got a game coming this month too. And this collab is already in Fortnite, so it could be a good moment to add more characters and even bring back the Chapter 6 Battle Pass skin, since that recently happened with the Marvel ones. After those, all that's left is the remix ones, Godzilla and the Crew's Turn. So timing-wise, it lines up pretty well for this collab to land right in November. And the last big game I could find dropping in November would be Crimelight, which honestly I'd never heard of before, so I have no idea what it's gonna be or even which characters they could add. And I'll say it again, all of this is a leak. Nothing's confirmed or set in stone, but you already know Epic gets a ton of stuff leaked. It looks like Epic is cooking up a Marvel mini-season to close out Chapter 7. Word is this thing is running under the codename Nolly Snap, and it'll roll in with the V43 update. And now buckle up, because judging by the timing, this whole thing is gonna be tied directly to the new Avengers Doomsday movie, which doesn't even drop until December. And if you think this is just some random collab for a few skins, I hate to break it to you. It goes way deeper than that. Let's start with the juiciest part. If a Marvel mini-season actually happens, then the face of it is almost 100% gonna be an old familiar mug, Dr. Doom. And this isn't me reading tea leaves. The dude already stomped around our island back in Chapter 5 during the absolute Doom season, so bringing him back for the chapter finale is a slam dunk for Epic. Especially right now, when the entire Marvel machine is spinning around this exact guy in the mask. But here's a fact that'll make any lore nerd's eyes start twitching. Remember the Zero War comics? Well, in those, Dr. Doom wasn't flying solo. He was hitched to the Imagine Order, and to its founder personally, meaning our big bad Geno. Doom worked his way into the Order's inner circle and went chasing a 0-point shard all over the universe. Now connect the dots. Geno just came back. He's pulling the strings on the whole squad, and he's rebuilding the epicenter. And if we think back to how Chapter 5 ended, we never actually got rid of Dr. Doom. The Rift just booted him off somewhere into some other reality. So now it's totally possible that if Geno's planning to rebuild his order, he can call his old partner back in, and that's how Doom makes his return to the game once again. For now, that's probably the one theory that actually makes sense. But if you've got your own idea for exactly how Doom could come back, drop it in the comments. Here's my theory. If Geno really cut a deal with the last reality, then he desperately needs some heavy artillery. And who fits that puzzle piece better than Doom? For the last reality that's straight up the jackpot, landing the two most dangerous manipulators in the Omniverse on the same team. There's no way we digest an alliance like that on our own. Another tasty hint is hiding right there in the art from those same comics. On the covers, the Foundation is going toe-to-toe with Doom, one-on-one. And that, folks, is a ready-made idea for a whole mini-season. The Rock just so happens to have dropped off the radar, but we know he's alive and about to come back. And that can be a direct callback to the comics, only now live and in the engine. Epic lives for pulling tricks like that. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. For now, this is all rumor and leak level stuff, so take it with a grain of salt. Officially, Epic is going to keep its mouth shut till the very last second, same as always. And still, way too many threads are pointing at the same spot. Doomsday in theaters, Doom in the files, Geno on the island, and his old friendship with the Iron Mask from the comics. For a plain collab over a couple skins, that's a little too much meat on the bone, don't you think? So if a Marvel mini-season really does land, get ready for the Chapter 7 finale to be built around Doom and his shady little dealings with Geno. And exactly how Epic ties the movie's Doomsday into our lore, and who ends up stabbing who in the back, we'll break all of that down. But right now, most of you are probably wondering what's gonna happen to the 0 point and all those sprites we've been collecting. And they're gonna disappear real soon. And unfortunately, this isn't a theory, it's just what's happening in the story. So I'm gonna explain to you why these creatures exist and why they'll stop showing up on our island. For starters, sprites like the water one and the air one were already around on the previous island back in Chapter 6, and they popped up once the 0 point fragment landed on that island. Even so, it was never really clear why they'd been created or what the connection was between them and the 0 point. But later on, in Chapter 7 Season 2, we saw in one of the first trailers how another fragment was sitting in a world near the water sprite. And then right after the finale event of that same season, we watched the 0 point come back together. And since it was completely unstable, it generated a new island along with the birth of thousands of other sprites. That makes it pretty clear that the 0 Point is the one creating them. So they're basically its kids, so to speak. And that would also explain why we've got designs like the Foundation one, since unlike the others, it's not a force of nature, if you want to put it that way. In his specific case, he was inside the 0 Point, so this sphere could crank out millions of sprite of any kind, because it's been in contact with every character and universe you can imagine, whether through its rift portals or in direct contact with it, like what happened to the Rock. And that's great news, but even though it looks like we'll be seeing the end of the sprite soon, that could change for a few reasons, and this would be the first one. So now, we come back to the explanation of why they're gonna disappear. To control the 0 Point, Dr. Sloan is building a collider, and the energy she needs to fire it up and get that 0 Point under control is to use its kids. So every single time we go capture and extract a sprite, it's not just to force them to hand us an extra power in a match. At the end of the day, we're using them as fuel. Which makes it pretty clear that this'll be the end of the sprites, and the move into the next season with a new mechanic. You already know Spidey basically lives in this game at this point, but it looks like he's about to swing back in with something fresh. According to leaks, more Spider-Man content is coming this season, and so far, the confirmed part is the web shooter returning to Power Hours, which honestly is already a W on its own, because those things were so much fun last time. But the bigger deal is what's rumored to come with it. A Brand New Day collab is officially coming next month, and that's the part I'm hyped about, because this isn't just another recolor of a suit we've already got 6 times over. Brand New Day is the new movie hitting theaters July 31st, and it's got Spidey wearing a brand new suit based on some classic comic designs. This is the version I really want in the game, because it's rocking brighter red and blue tones with a bigger spider symbol slapped across the chest. So it's that clean comic accurate look, instead of the high-tech Stark stuff we usually get. If Epic actually nails this one, it'd easily stand out from the older Spideys in the locker. And the cherry on top is the rest of the cast this movie's packing, because there are a bunch of characters that have never gotten skins. Villains like Boomerang and Scorpion still don't have one, and there's a ton of demand for the Punisher since John Bernthal's Frank Castle has never made it into Fortnite either. So if this collab goes big, we could be looking at way more than just the suit. Nothing's locked in stone past the gloves yet, so take the rest as leaks for now. But with the movie dropping at the end of July, the timing lines up perfectly, and I'd bet we hear something official real soon.